Hello and welcome to NB Drives. My name is Nishmanya and you join me in Japan, specifically in Tokyo. And today I have rented a car, and it's not just any car, it's actually this, a BMW Z4. It's a nice sporty beamer and rear wheel drive. I know this version only has the 4-cylinder engine making about 200 horsepower, but it should still be great fun out and about on the roads. I'm heading to Mount Fuji, well, the lake area near Mount Fuji, and I want to bring you guys along for the experience. This is my first time renting a car abroad and driving it without anyone else around, so I don't have any friends who are accustomed to the local rules, and it's not one of their cars. So it is a new experience for me, and I thought I'd bring you guys along because it is not often that you get to come and see a lot of vlogs in Japan that walk you through the perspective of renting a car and driving around here, especially from India. So yeah, I'm very excited to bring you guys along for this. Also, a little bit of context. The place that I got this car from, I wanted to initially get a Japanese sports car, but unfortunately, because this is peak season, the 2 weeks that I am in Japan, there were no slots available for any of the Japanese sports cars. Like anything, I couldn't get a Subaru, I couldn't get any of the Mitsubishis, I couldn't even get like a GT86. So the Z4, the second I saw it pop up on the website, I decided that it just makes sense to get it, because this is roughly about the same price as renting a premium sedan from any of the other major companies. So that's either Toyota or Honda, and I thought for the price it just made so much more sense, it'd be more fun. So join me for this vlog where I'll take you through what the feeling of driving around in Japan is, anything that you should watch out for, and what my overall experience is going to be. Hope you guys enjoy this, and let's get into it. Before we get into the actual driving, let me walk you through the process of renting the car. I used Omoshiro Rent-a-Car, and this allows you to rent some cool exotic cars in Japan. And as you can see, this is what the website looks like. Once you're on here, you can see there's a very large selection of cool JDM cars. Now, I'd suggest if you're going in season, please do look in advance and book your cars, because they will get booked up fairly quickly and you will not have the options that you're looking for because there's very limited stock. Also remember that there are different shops, so you are going to get the best selection from their main shop, which is a little outside Chiba, which isn't the easiest commute for everyone. So I ended up choosing their relatively centrally located Bancho branch, though it is worth noting that they had limited stock. They had only 4 cars out there. Once you select the car, you'll get the tech specs on it. It tells you how much power it has, weight, engine. More importantly, as you scroll down, you'll see the price list, which, as you can see, for 6 hours was 18,000 yen, for 24 hours was 24,000 yen. So 24,000 would roughly be about 12,000 rupees. You can then check the calendar for availability of the car, and as you can see, the O's mean that it is available for the entire day. The triangles mean that it's available for part of the day, so certain hours either in the morning or evening, and the X's show that it is already been booked for the day. When your booking's confirmed, all you have to do is go down to the location that you have selected. You'll also get a mail giving you the exact location with landmark, and there'll be staff out there to give you a walk around of the car. It'll be quite detailed. They'll walk you through all the exterior blemishes if there are any on the car, and otherwise just show you the condition, as well as a thorough walk around of the interior as well, and explain anything you need to know in terms of usage or features of the car, which in this case they did show me how to put the top up and down. Also note that on your credit card that you'll use to book the car, they will block a certain amount of credit limit on it. For me, it was about 150,000 yen, which roughly for me translates to about 75,000 rupees. After that, they will check your driving credentials. For international drivers, the international driver license is what they will have a look at, as well as your domestic license. And then you have to sign the waivers, and you're pretty much good to go. I had booked the BMW Z4 for 24 hours, and when I collected it, it was night. I knew that I had roughly 350 kilometers of driving allowed in my package. If you do drive over that limit, there's a certain charge per kilometer. It's not very high, but it is worth keeping in mind. And I knew my trip for the next day, so I decided that I'd drive around a little bit in the city. I headed off towards the Harajuku area and basically took in a little bit of the nightlife. I got to do a little bit of car spotting, as you can see in this footage, and it was just generally very nice taking in the sights at night. It's something that felt like it was right out of a video game for me, and I just had a blast that night, getting just accustomed to the car and driving around in the city with relatively less traffic. I cannot believe that I'm driving in Japan and in Tokyo. It's insane, and I'm right now following a GT3, a 911 GT3. This is insane. Is Oof, that's crazy. Coming back to the main driving day, I did decide to take the non-toll roads or the back roads to Mount Fuji Lake District. This was essentially for two reasons. One, I wasn't 100% sure about the toll system, so I wanted to play it safe on the way in as I was getting used to the car and driving culture. Second, it was also because I wanted to experience some of the back roads that Japan is so well known for. The twisty mountain roads and some of the village areas, which you wouldn't get to see through the expressways because they're just so well laid out, 6-lane, 8-lane highways. So you get to see the landscape but not that much of the countryside. Now, leaving the city was pretty much a breeze because there wasn't a whole lot of traffic early in the morning. This was around 8:30, 9 a.m. and this was a weekend, so again there wasn't a whole lot going on, and it had clear roads, and as long as you followed all the road instructions and the map, which was actually fairly accurate for me, you're pretty much good to go. Only thing is, everyone out there had warned me, people who lived in Japan as well as the people from the rental agency, that you do not want to be caught speeding out here. And for this purpose, I stuck very much to the speed limit. I didn't want to take any chances. I didn't want to get pulled over in a foreign country. So that was something I kept in mind, and I think you guys should as well. It is worth noting that it's a good idea to ride around in local taxis if you're not very comfortable with the driving rules, as you can pick up a lot by the way the drivers maneuver through the city, the traffics, the kind of rules, and just see how strict they are with enforcing them. Once you see how the local taxi drivers react, you can pretty much judge how you would want to drive yourself. Now, I would like to point out that for the first hour and a half of the drive, I wasn't particularly impressed with the route I had chosen, as it felt like it was mainly just motorway, and you basically just stuck to the main road, and it was cutting through towns. You're taking flyovers over everything, and it didn't really feel like I had taken the more scenic route out. Though that very quickly changed as you turned off the main motorway area and started entering the villages, as you can see here. And the scenery just opens up. The roads are much narrower, but they're so green at this time of year. And you really can enjoy the natural beauty better on these roads. At least better than you would on the bigger motorways. 2.5 hours into the journey, any doubt or regret I had about choosing this route completely vanished, as I fell in love with the road and the countryside, and overall, the experience was exactly what I thought it would be. It really lived up to the Japanese backroad vibe that I was going for. And because the sun had decided to come out from behind the clouds, I decided this was a great time to put the top down and take in some of that fresh air and lovely views. Oh, this is so nice. I think the feeling of driving these roads is like it's lived up to the hype that was there in my head. Like, they're exactly what you would think they're gonna be. I just wish the speed limit was a little higher, but it's phenomenal. And getting it dropped off was the right decision. And today's weather is also just really played into the experience. For me, as we pushed on further into the drive, the roads just kept getting better and better and better. As you can see, they were winding through mountains and the views were just getting more insane for me. I'll also say the Z4 came alive on these mountain roads. It was extremely fun to drive on these tight and twisty roads, as the turn-in was very sharp and there was very little body roll, which only solidified my pick in the Z4 for this road trip, as on the highways it felt a little dull because we had to stick to the speed limit, but on these mountain roads it was so fun. We even got some sakura blossom or cherry blossom along the route, which was wonderful to see, because this was the end of the sakura season, so I wasn't expecting to see any. And then I had the first glimpse of Mount Fuji en route, and it looked majestic. Even though the sun hid behind the clouds once again, the view of Mount Fuji really made up for the slightly overcast weather. It's just so interesting to see it in person. And when I initially saw it, I sort of forgot that I'm looking at a volcano. This is the first time I'd ever seen one in person. So it took me a minute to just take that in, process it, and it was quite an insane moment for me personally. Alright guys, I have just finished my drive. It's been about 4 hours since I set off and from the parking lot in Tokyo, actually from my hotel. And it's been a very good drive so far. Initially I was a little disappointed because I thought taking the non-motorway roads, it felt a little bit too much like regular old highways. There wasn't anything special going on there, plus speed limits were low. But the last 2.5 hours of this drive have been amazing. The roads have been quintessentially Japanese mountain roads, exactly what you think about. They're tight, they're twisty, they are very well laid out tarmac wise, and the sceneries have been amazing. I've had so much fun driving it. Only thing I wish was the speed limits were a little higher. It's been like 40 to 60 pretty much the entire way. So I do get for safety they need to keep it a little low because the roads are tight, but some sections can definitely be done a little faster. But I feel like that's not, it doesn't detract too much from the entire experience. And overall the drive has also been very good. The getting to know the rules and stuff, it's been fairly straightforward. Only issue I've had is sometimes with the right hand side turns on the bigger signals, because it's a little different than how we do it. And at one point I was being followed by a local cop, but I think that was more them just trying to make sure we're driving safely, because foreigner and sports car equal, things can go wrong. So I think they're just being cautious. They didn't stop or anything. So overall it's been a great experience. And also the place we've come to, this is the Yamaguchi lake, and the biggest plus here is that view. I'm gonna try getting a better shot, but that is Fuji out in the distance and it's looking so cool. So yeah, I think I'll catch up with you guys after I'm done with my lunch stop and when I'm heading back. As we were having lunch at the Kawaguchiko lake, we decided to stop at a restaurant called Olsson Strawberry, which had a wonderful view out of Mount Fuji and was supposed to have pretty good international selection of food. We decided to take a break from the regular meals that we'd been having, which were traditional Japanese or slightly less traditional local food as well, and decided we would give the Conti stuff a try. The restaurant was attached to this interesting museum which is called the Konohana Museum, and it displays various art pieces that are themed around Akiko Ikeda's fictional land of Watchfield and character of Diane the cat. After a wonderful lunch and some strawberry dessert, we headed off towards the lakefront and walked around there. And the sights were just gorgeous. The weather was holding up for us, it hadn't started raining, and it was around 13-14 degrees. So it was cool, but it wasn't extremely cold. So it was very manageable and you could very comfortably walk around the lake and take in those gorgeous views of Mount Fuji. And here too we got to see some cherry blossom, but it was again very limited compared to what it was just a few weeks ago, as we were informed by the locals. Now I also want to talk a little bit about the Z4 itself. I think it looks really good, this current generation. It's got a very smart design, it's not overdone. I like the proportions, and overall it just looks really mean in this black on black spec. I also want to mention how well it was maintained in terms of its exterior appearance. And this holds true for most of the cars that I saw on the Japanese roads. They really take a lot of care and pride in maintaining their car, and they're all clean, well kept, and it'll be very rare to spot a car that's not been maintained very well on their roads. You can tell by the reflections you can see in the paint, and trust me, I'm not being sponsored by Omoshiro, but it just looked so clean, and I sort of ended up bonding a lot more than I initially thought I would with the Z4. The interiors are also quite smart looking, and I do think that the screens are relatively easy to use. I wish that there was Android Auto wired at least in this system, but unfortunately there's only Apple CarPlay and obviously no wireless connectivity option, which was a little bit of a bummer because it made my life a little easier navigating around town. After I spent a little bit more time ogling the car and taking in the view of Mount Fuji behind it, me and my sister got back onto the road, and this time when we were heading back to Tokyo, we did decide to take the expressway because I wanted to experience both types of roads out there. And as you can see, the views from here were no slouch either. It was wonderful taking in the green mountains and a little more cherry blossom. I'm really glad we got to see at least this much because it's a very short window to see the cherry blossom, and it's something I've always wanted to see in Japan. I've also left in the clip of me going through the toll gate, and this is for anyone who doesn't have an ETC or electronic toll collection card on their car fitted like this car didn't have, and have to use the cash lane. These are marked out fairly well. They're the all green lanes. You can see them on the top. There's a big board saying cash. And once you go through, there'll be an attendant who will very politely tell you the amount you need to pay. And once you've shown them the ticket that you got at the start of the toll road, they will take the money from you and give you the change back. This is adaptive cruise control working properly. This is no braking input or throttle input from me. I've just set the speed and distance I want from the truck in front, and it's maintaining it on its own. Very cool. For those of you wondering, this is what rush hour traffic looks like in Tokyo. It's not too bad actually. I might have spoken too soon. We'll find out in a bit. But this is on the map showing all red, and it's still flowing. Like it's not completely standstill. So yeah, it's not too bad. Anyone from Bombay will know that we, I think, have worse traffic than this. After that traffic jam, I did end up getting a little lost in the tunnels under Tokyo. They were a little confusing and I didn't have data. Also, I was a little too stressed to film anything at that point. But the journey after I got out of the tunnels all the way till the Omoshiro center that I had to drop my car back at was relatively pleasant and stress-free. Once I got back to the center, the staff looked over the car very thoroughly, both inside and outside, and basically checked for any marks or scratches. Once they saw the car was clean, they gave me some final documentation to be signed, and they informed me that the amount that was blocked on the credit card would be freed up as the car was in good condition, and I got a receipt for my car rental. As I was already late by the time we got out, I decided that I'd like to do a little bit of car spotting on the last day I was there, and here are some of the cars that I ended up seeing. I saw this Ferrari 296 hooning around the streets of Harajuku. This dope Mercedes Maybach GLS 600. This Rolls-Royce Wraith. This old school Land Rover Defender that was restored impeccably. This cool group of Civics. this awesome Lamborghini Aventador S. And these are also some of the spots that I had made earlier on in the trip, such as an R34 GTR, this really cool Nissan GTR R35 with a really big wing on it, this really clean looking Lexus LC500, this Cadillac limousine, this Dodge Challenger, quite a few of these Bentley Bentegas, and these G-Wagons. There were tons of these around. Quite a few of the new 992 generation Porsche 911s, as well as the 991 generation. And of course, I'll also talk back about the experience outside the Bingo collection, where I saw a Koenigsegg Regera, an F50, as well as a Porsche Singer DLS, and a Lamborghini Miura, as well as an Apollo IE, all of which were insane cars, and this Rice Stout hatchback. These were just some of the cars I was able to pull out my phone or camera to capture in time. There were so many that I wasn't able to capture, but as you can tell by this little glimpse that the car scene all around Japan is quite strong.